Well, I'm Anita Martinez. I am from a family poor in money, but rich in love and family connections. My family came from northern New Mexico. My father was especially proud of his indigenous roots, Comanche and Navajo. Till I was 12, we lived in rural Nebraska. Our house had 2 rooms, a small kitchen and a common room for everyday living and then sleeping at night. There was no indoor plumbing. We moved to California when my father was forced to retire due to severe arthritis. That opened up higher education for me because community colleges were free in California. I studied at San Joaquin Delta College, completing my associate's degree while working part-time. Transferred to SF State, where I found myself immersed in conversations about systemic racism. I was often the only student of color in all my classes. I was a history major hoping to research the enslavement of Native peoples in the Southwest, but changed my major when my history professors would not honor the student strike. My grassroots activism started as a student marcher in the San Francisco State Strike, led by the BSU in coalition with other student groups, to establish the School of Ethnic Studies and the EOP. We didn't win all of our demands, but ethnic studies is alive and growing, and now in the public schools. My commitment developed into a 40-year career with the same goals: improve student access and success in higher education, especially for Black and Brown students. In 2019, I was invited to speak at the City College Ethnic Studies Teach-In. I told the students that as a former student and community college teacher and administrator, I was passing the baton on to them in the struggle for social justice. As I finished speaking, I realized that I could and should go one more lap as a member of the City College Board of Trustees. My 28 years of City College experience would help inform board decisions. I'm running with the support of faculty, students, and retirees who are just as concerned as I am with the problems at City College. The budget's a mess, which a new budget officer that I advocated for can address. This registration system is dysfunctional, made worse by a poor COVID-19 response. There are too many classes that have been canceled, and outcomes for Black and Brown students need to be improved. My campaign is not about me. It's about using what I know to stop the downsizing of City College. It's about keeping City College a community college, a college of and for the community. I would appreciate your endorsement, and so would they.
Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Statement. Appreciate it. And we may have some questions for you as well. Does anyone else have a question for Ms. Martinez? I have one for you. You stated in your questionnaire that you believe in public-private partnerships, which fundamentally the Green Party is opposed to.
Yes.
Could you give us an example of a public-private partnership that works in our system?
Well, I cannot think of one, but the only thing that I would say that I might advocate for is if there is a public-private partnership that would bring free internet for our community, our college students, and our community. That's about the only thing that I would advocate for. I can't think of any others that have worked.
Okay, thank you kindly.
Mm-hmm.
And John Mark has a question.
Oh, yeah, and also to follow up to your questionnaire about the campus police. You reported some kind of negative interactions with them. Given the current national climate, would you advocate defunding them significantly or even abolishing the campus police?
Well, you know, they're unarmed. That's number one. Number two, I worked with them when I was Dean of Students. And when I worked with them, there were a couple of occasions when I was glad they were there so we didn't have to call the SFPD. The students gave a dance one time and the Dean of Student Activities had to be absent, so I supervised the dance in her place. One of the things that happened was a couple of students started flashing gang signs and somebody called SFPD. So I called campus police and asked them to hold them back, which they did. I went in, talked to the student organizers and said, we can't have this here. Have a couple more dances and then we've got to stop this. I worked with our campus police. I said, you've got to keep the SFPD away from the perimeter of the campus because I want guaranteed safety off the campus. That's the time that I valued campus police. There were other times when we had, City College was known for having people, psychologists and psychiatrists, refer students for something to do during the day. There was one instance where there was a young man who'd had prefrontal damage where he couldn't control his impulses, and he was harassing a female student. She didn't know his name. So she came and complained to me. I called campus police and they said, next time she sees him on campus, have her come and point him out to us, and then we'll bring him to you. So that's what she did. She pointed him out. They put him in a squad car. I suspended him, and then we later found out that he had harassed other women students. And so we went through the due process of a suspension and eventually an expulsion. So I have that kind of nuanced view of campus police. That was true when I was dean of students. I don't know how it functions now, but again, if it keeps the SFPD from becoming actively involved on the campus, then I would be for that, because these guys are unarmed. They don't have guns, they don't have tasers, they don't even carry batons.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Rich has a question. Quick question, Rich.
Yeah, it's a very quick one. I noticed that you said that you wanted to make City College free for students who actually didn't live but worked in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How would you plan on budgeting that?
Well, it's part of it would have to be changed. The ordinance would have to be changed in order to do that. And there would probably have to be some kind of threshold. Right now, what they do is they check the student's address. What a person could do who works in San Francisco, they could show them a pay slip, a pay stub. And the reason I support that is because so many of our communities of color especially have had to move out of San Francisco. They still work in San Francisco, but they can't afford to rent here anymore. They've moved to other cities like Pacifica or Daly City, or right on the perimeter of where City College is. And that's one of the reasons I'd support that. I'd also like to see Free City College cover more things like food insecurity, because we have a lot of students. Counselors routinely keep staples in their office. So when a student comes in and says, oh, I'm hungry, and they don't have food, counselors pay for those out of their own pockets and they give them to the students. I'd like to see something, some kind of support for that in the next ordinance.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Martinez, for joining us this evening. This
you.
interview, along with your questionnaire responses, will be posted on the San Francisco Green Party website.
Okay,
Good luck to
thank
you.
you very much. Appreciate your
Good
time.
evening.